What's up everybody, Coach Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Valorant video, and in this video we're going to be breaking down an agent that is absolutely horrifying ranked, and if you haven't played her, you've definitely played against her, and it's Skye. And basically, someone who masters Skye, the enemy have to ask you permission to actually see, you know, because you're just going to keep them permanently blind, and with such a powerful kit, Mastery of Skye is going to allow you to hard carry so many damn games. So we're going to jump into this guide, but in-depth VOD reviews and advanced tips and tricks are just a click away at the GameLeap website. Right now, Tanner is working on in-depth Skye courses, and of course, we have in-depth agent courses over every agent, so do yourself a favor and go check it out in the links down below. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. Now, right off the bat, we're going to be breaking down every single one of her abilities, give you tips and tricks on each one, and then give you some actionable tips about her playstyle and big tips that you need to master Skye. Now, kicking it off with the first ability, we have Skye's Flash Guiding Light. Now, Guiding Light costs 100 credits a piece, and she can have freaking 3 of them, which is actually just crazy. It's along the lines of Breach, which having so many flashes is just really powerful. But the thing that makes Guiding Light so unique is the fact that it gains information just purely based on the flash, because it tells you whether or not it connects with enemies or doesn't. And this is something very unique to only Guiding Light, but incredibly powerful, because you don't necessarily need to follow up on this ability to get value out of it, because you get to know where enemies are routing to, which is super valuable already at the low cost of only 100 credits. Now, how you route this ability is going to be incredibly important, because enemies, of course, if they see it coming, they can just shoot it before it becomes into contact with their team, and it's going to be harder for your teammates to make a play off of it. However, you can route Guiding Light in interesting ways, like over buildings, through cracks in walls, underneath surfaces. Basically, the sky is the limit with this powerful ability. Now, something that you should know right off the bat with Guiding Light is that you can let go of the gliding key, and if it's along an edge or a surface, it will continue to fly along the same angle and along walls. So all you need to do is press the flash key again anytime to activate it. It will cause you to have a cast where you put away your weapon. However, it doesn't require you to curve it anymore, so you could hypothetically throw it one way along a wall, turn around and watch a different angle, and then still detonate your flash even while you're not controlling it anymore, which is really powerful for some clutch setups. Now, typically, you're going to be wanting to use this flash in 2 major ways. The first way is for purely information, and like I said, at only 100 credits, that is good enough and value. Just being able to find out where enemies are, knowing that an enemy's there, it really allows her to gain information in the same way that something like a Sova would be able to, but the flashes also have aggressive capabilities as well. Now, the second big way to use your flash is set up an ally in a close swing angle and use your flash and have the ally swing right behind it after it detonates and capitalize on the enemy's blind. This is very similar to how you would set up something like Breach or Omen Paranoia. Very powerful setup, but it does require team play, and that's why typically comboing this ability with your allies, I would highly suggest at least duo queuing so y'all can be in constant communication setting up these plays. But if you do, you can get a lot of power, because you can do something like, oh, found out someone's around the corner with info, your teammates push up while they're blind, and then you throw another one out and set it up again so that they can turn on it, and it's just really strong to do these kind of things in ranked play. Then we go to the next ability that we got to talk about. It's Regrowth, which is Skye's Heal at 200 cost. The first thing you need to understand is even if you just use a tiny bit of it, you're still gonna have to rebuy it, so you don't want to invest it unless you're legitimately gonna be using it. You don't want to just pop it for like 5 HP or something like that, and then you have to buy the entire thing the next round. Now, on top of that, Regrowth, as you're gonna notice, heals super quickly. I mean, compared to Sage's heal, it's just like 0 to 100 so fast. Now, on top of that, a lot of times, it's worth it to invest Regrowth just to solo heal a target. Yes, it can heal multiple people, but there is a limit to how much it can heal, and just getting one person up to full is almost always worth it, allowing them to tank a certain amount of body shots from even ARs, and trade potentially, or trade up in value, is so strong. Now, you need to be an LOS for Regrowth to work, so that's just something you need to keep in mind. But a lot of times, just investing this ability when you get the opportunity to heal someone for 50 or more, or heal a total of 50 or more health, is usually going to be worth it, and it's going to be worth your time to do so, just giving your team a little bit of extra survivability. Then we go to the next ability that we got to break down is Skye's Trailblazer, which has a lot of potential to get some free kills and value. Now, first off, it's great at anti-opping because it can force enemies out of course, from their cubby. And often an Opper is going to have a hard time shutting down this if you route it correctly. Now, the way to route it correctly, route your Trailblazer correctly so that it doesn't die, is you want to be using natural cover a lot. You don't want to be crossing through open space all that much if you can help it, especially if you have an area on the map that you want to clear. You don't want to submit yourself to a crossfire from an open angle when you're trying to check back a site. It's kind of similar to how someone or an ally will shoot like a boom bot, right? To prevent it from getting a teammate. Well, with you having control of Trailblazer, you can try to minimize these things and really clear what you want to clear. Now, on top of that, this is fantastic for having an ally follow it up, but when you stun a target, make sure that you're calling where a target is, and if you stun it or not, you can always use the pinging system. And of course, Trailblazer does 30 damage, so every once in a while, you're gonna get a kill with it, which is kind of cool. Now, last but certainly not least, we gotta talk about our ultimate in Seekers. This is an insane initiator ultimate with the ability to actually just take site control for literally free. It's incredibly good when your team are pushing onto site, but you don't have all the angles cleared. These can kind of take the role of like a duelist, where they check first, and if enemies want to fight, they have to fight these and shoot them, and they're going to be able to, but you're going to get all that information about where they are. You can swing them at a team, the enemy's going to use ammo, and most of the time, you're going to be able to trade out favorably and take site control. On top of that, it's an incredible ability to use when you don't quite know what the enemy's doing or where they're going, or if you just feel like something's off and there's a possibility that one of them is making a flank. This can easily find people on the flank, cut off enemy rotation, tell you where the enemy are. It is not quite as strong as something like Neural Theft from Cypher as far as information is concerned, but the ability and the flexibility to use it to force enemies out, and the overwhelming nature of this ability when there's less players on the enemy team, and this can really be used aggressively. It's a really powerful ultimate that could even win rounds by itself. Now, moving on to the next big section we gotta talk about is Skye's playstyle. And like I said before with her flashes, the most important thing that you should be doing in every single game is setting up engagements for allies. Now, of course, you're going to be constantly checking certain areas to find out if enemies are there or if enemies are an LOS of that. And it's going to be as easy as sending like one of your birds up top, exploding it. If there's no one there, your teammates can go and take that space. And if there is someone there, you can get your teammates to push up. You send another one, and then they swing and capitalize on the person that's flash still holding that angle. Now, of course, you don't want to be the first person in because you want to get fair use out of all of your abilities because they're so powerful. Now, something to understand in general about playing her on defense is that there's a low cost to just sending one random flash in hotspot areas or at chokes before you leave. Like, let's say you're playing on Ascent on defense, you're playing B, and the enemies are pushing A. You could send one flash B main, making sure no enemies flanking or no enemies are going to push in or it's not a bait. You get no information there, they're not there. You route up to heaven, you send another flash mid, there's no enemies there, and you made sure that you're not just going to run across to vents and get killed, and you make sure that no enemies are trying to flank or it's not a fake. These are all really, really powerful questions that you have the answer to using your flash, which of course you're primarily using for information in this scenario. Now, the last big takeaway I'm going to give you about her playstyle is you can be aggressive with a duo even on defense. Remember what I said about getting an ally to a close-up angle to swing on enemies that are pushing in? You can do this on so many maps and even set your ally up for even more powerful angles when they go to take space. Think of something like Ascent on B, you're playing defense, you could send a flash right through window as your teammate cross around into the little cubby. As enemies push in through B main, you send another flash in, your ally swings, gets a double kill, and then gets out. This is just one example of the many different powerful defensive plays that you can use to still convert on kills, as long as you have at least some form of communication. But like I said, highly suggest to do it with this agent. Now let's move on to the 3 tips that are going to set you up for success using this agent, and if you incorporate these, you're going to be able to climb with ease because Skye is frankly one of the most powerful agents right now. Now, the first thing, of course, we talked about it before, but communication is very important on this agent. So you need to be constantly calling what you're doing. You need to be constantly calling your flashes to everybody. You need to say, hey, we're gonna flash on this corner, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. If you don't, your teammates are gonna get hit by your own flash. They're not gonna utilize your flashes. So if you're just someone who doesn't like to talk, you stay out of comms, Skye is gonna be a pretty hard agent for you to get full value of, so definitely keep that in mind. Now, as for the next tip, and perhaps the most powerful thing that I can tell you to do on Skye, and it's understanding and relaying what the LOS of your flashing actually covers and clears. You can see your birds on the mini map, and you can also know intuitively what areas they hit, what areas they touch. And the thing is, using your game sense and map knowledge, you can identify what certain areas are going to be clear. For example, you send it right down like any map A main and it hits multiple different corners, but no one gets flashed. You don't hear the indicator noise. You can clear it to your team or call to your team, this place is clear, this place is clear, this place is clear, push on this site, all of this is clear, let's go in. This is one example of using the process of elimination that your flash creates to identify what angles your teammates don't even have to worry about, which allow them to swing the areas on site much more aggressively. On top of that, let's say you make a targeted flash to one area and it does connect. Then you could say, oh, the enemy was either here or here, so these are two hot zone areas that if you push on the site, check one of these two because the enemy is for sure in one of these two areas based on the amount of time he had since post flash and the amount of time it took us to push on the site. You see how powerful these flashes can become because you got 3 of them. They can gather information each one and set up plays. You also got your wolf that can set up plays and gather information, and then your ultimate that can set up plays and gather information. I mean, are you getting the big picture here? This agent, when properly set up and properly communicated, and you talking to your team and giving them information based on all the little things that you're clearing. You're saying, this cubby's clear, this cubby's clear, this area's clear, there's someone back aside, he's probably under hell. This is all information that you can relay to your team and set up so many unfavorable engagements that the enemy team just never get a fair fight. They end up flashed and killed, and you get that numbers advantage in site control, and how they're gonna win from that point, it is very difficult for them to do so. Now, the last thing that we gotta talk about on Sky is economy, and as a general rule of thumb, your abilities are the most important thing versus pretty much any weapons, period. Now, specifically in something like pistol rounds, you could just rock all your abilities if you have a coordinated team. Of course, I know that some people want a little bit more firepower when they can't necessarily rely on your teammates converting on a lot of the setups that you create. But on top of that, if you want a little bit more firepower, I do think that rocking something like the Frenzy plus a couple of flashes with Sky is incredibly powerful. But honestly, the best thing you could probably do in pistol round is just buy all of your abilities with a classic, because you get to heal, you get to clear sight, find information, set up plays, all that stuff that we talked about, and that can be even better on an eco round. So that's definitely something you can keep in mind, and if you master everything that we talked about in this guide, you'll be sure to start popping off in ranked and be able to climb easily. But right now, Tanner is our top 100 player on the GameLeap website, and he's making in-depth Sky guides right now. So do yourself a favor and go check it out in the links down below and learn up-to-date guides on every single agent, plus map guides, mechanical guides, and much, much more. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for coming by. That's all we got for you today. I'm Coach Mills, and of course, until next time,